Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and this is Old School Kansas City Brisket. So I called up a buddy of mine, a guy that's been doing barbecue in Kansas City for decades. He's won the American Royal, he's got successful restaurants. He knows what he's talking about. And I wanted to pick his brain about how are these old school Kansas City barbecue joints doing their briskets? Because you got slices, you've got burn ends, but how are they preparing them? So what he told me is, you're gonna smoke this brisket whole until it's pretty well cooked, almost done. Separate the point and flat, let them get back onto the pit and finish off. And then you're gonna cube up your burn ends and put your sauce on them. So that's what we're gonna do today. Now what we have here is a whole brisket, a packer brisket, a prime brisket from Creekstone Farms. Tippity top of the food chain if you ask me. I'm gonna do a little bit of trimming, maybe not as much as I normally would. I'm gonna take this piece off because I know that that's going to just burn up as it cooks. All of this can go into your burger grind though. I'll also take off this gray edge on the side here. Not unusable, again, can go into your burger grind. From here, I'm just gonna trim off this really thin edge that I also think is probably just gonna end up crunchy little bits. And then it's a matter of fat cap. So you can see there's a lot of fat right in here. Some of that hard fat I'm gonna take off. I don't need to do a great job of like trimming this way down, but I'm gonna take some of that off. Same thing on this side. This is kind of where the point meets the flat, and there's always a big wedge of fat right here. We'll just help that render out by taking some of the fat off. Now up here on top of the point, which is where our burnt ends come from, this is super fatty stuff. We don't need all this extra hard fat on the back, so I'm gonna take that hard fat off and just leave a thinner layer of fat on top. So once you've got those large chunks of hard fat off, you don't really have to do much more. Again, we're kind of thinking about this from a commodity standpoint. You don't wanna spend too much time cutting on these things because time is money. I'll take a little bit of that hard fat off that wedge on the bottom. This is great stuff for rendering down for tallow or for mixing into your burger mix or your sausages. Now on to seasoning. So we're gonna use jalapeno honey mustard as a binder. You can just use yellow mustard. I like the sweetness in this though. I don't like a lot of sweet with my beef, but if this can help create a little bit more caramelization on the outside, I'll be happy about that. So give that a good slather, and then we're gonna hit this with two different rubs. The first one is Bovine Bold. This is from Plowboys. As far as I'm concerned, a Kansas City institution when it comes to barbecue. This has got a good mix of sweet and savory. It's not too sweet, it's pretty salty. It's got some celery seed in it, which adds some depth of flavor. This is the finer of the two rubs, so it's going on first. So we'll get that pressed in there, make sure it's attached before we put on our second rub. That second rub is gonna be the Yoder Smokers Beef Rub. This is gonna have a more coarse texture. It's gonna be more salt and pepper heavy. Not much sweetness to it. But this coarse rub helps to add a really nice bark. I also really like that peppery flavor that it gives off. Make sure that's really well attached again, and then we'll flip it and do the other side. So now you've got your flat muscle, which is where you get your slices. And over here you've got the edge of your point muscle, which is where you get your burn ends. In between is this fat cap, and that's where we're gonna separate later. We're gonna cut right in between these two to separate them. That way we can turn these into burn ends and these into slices. Now I'm no expert at this technique. I haven't done it more than a couple times. I've practiced it some. I'm just kind of going off of basically the legends of the old school Kansas City barbecue. So one of the things that you're gonna find is that sometimes folks are going to separate these and put them back on separately so that you can get a whole nother layer of bark and seasoning on the inside of this. What we're gonna do this time around though, is we're gonna separate them and then wrap them just to expedite that cooking process. Because to me, and this is entirely just my preference, I would rather have a juicy brisket than have a crispy brisket. So I'm gonna wrap it after I separate it. And that doesn't make it right or wrong. You know, this is your brisket to do what you want with it. I'm just trying to share some of the legacy of the Kansas City barbecue here. All right, so we'll press that in. We'll give it a few minutes to set up, and then we'll put it on the smoker. My go-to technique for smoking big meats lately is that I'll put it on overnight on the pellet grill. So today we're smoking on the Yoder Smokers YS640s pellet grill. Last night I put on our brisket that you're gonna see here momentarily how that's come along. I'll set that temperature to 190 to 200 degrees and just let it ride overnight and go 8, 10, even 12 hours. And then in the morning you're gonna turn the temperature up to about 250 and wait for that to come up to wrapping temperature. Right here on the second shelf is where it's gonna rest. We're gonna go 200 degrees overnight. So the brisket's been on all night. It's got a really great bark. In the morning, what I did first thing about 8 to 9 hours after I put it on was I turned that grill temperature up to 250 degrees. And it's been rocking away for a few hours since then. Now we've reached the point where we're at about 185 degrees internal temperature, and I'm ready to separate the point from the flat. Just look at the color on that thing. That looks absolutely beautiful. Let's get this thing off and get it separated. Now this is not fully cooked. It's not done yet, but we're gonna separate it to finish it off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for that fat line. It's usually right around here. And it doesn't matter if you miss it by a little bit. Oh my gosh, look at the juice coming out of this thing. But we're gonna try and work our knife through that fat line. You're just gonna keep an eye on whether you're hitting meat or not as you pull it back. And it's cooked enough now that it kind of just wants to come apart on its own. So we're gonna cut right through there. Now we've got our point, or our flat, sorry, down here. This is where you get your slices. We've got a little bit of that flat still stuck to here, but that's okay. We can cube that up too. We're gonna wrap both of these separately to finish them until they're tender, and then we'll cube up our point and turn it into burnt ends. Now I'm just leaving all of those juices that came out in with the flat. Since that is the leaner cut, we want to make sure that there's plenty of juice and fat in there for it to finish cooking. Get that wrapped up super tight, and then we'll move on to the point. Got a little bit of juice left in the pan, so let's add that in. All right, wrapped super tight. Both of these are going back onto the pit. A couple more hours now wrapped, and our brisket is temping at about 205 internal. We're gonna give it a probe test here. Oh my gosh, that's butter, guys. Yeah, that's ready to come off for sure. So now that we've checked the flat, let's check the point so we can see if we're ready to cube these up. Oh, it's got a nice jiggle to it. Oh yeah, butter. All right, let's pull this off, cube it up. We'll get the burn ends finished off and let the flat rest. So we're gonna cube up the point now to make our burnt ends. We just cut these into bite-sized chunks. Oh, this feels awesome. It's right on the money. Knife's just gliding right through there. There's a little bit of that flat that was stuck on the bottom. Call that chef snacks. All right, I just had a bite. These are incredibly good already, but we're gonna finish them off with a little sweetness. We're using the Firebug mild sauce. This is a great kind of not too sweet sauce, but sweet sauce. Just toss them in that sauce, and we're gonna take them back to the grill just to let that sauce kind of tack up for the next probably 20 to 30 minutes. We'll leave those open so they're exposed to the air. They can kind of start to tack up and let that sauce really set into the surface of the meat. But these have been sitting here for about 25 minutes now. They're at peak tenderness. They're fully coated in that sauce, so let's pull them off. The flat's had some time to rest now, so let's slice into this guy. Super tender. You got some of that fat from the fat in the middle of those two muscles there sitting on top. It's gonna be a juicy bite. That. Let's take a look at the long slice and see how it looks in the middle here. Oh yeah, just crazy tender. Great juice. You can see it glistening on the surface there. Beautiful. All right, let's taste these. Fat just melts in your mouth. Got a nice salt content to it, which is good. It's a big piece of meat, so you want to be able to feel that salt in whatever bite you get. Super juicy. I love the savory finish on this. Now you could choose to dip this into a Kansas City barbecue sauce if you like. I'd rather eat it just the way it is. Now if it's a little bit of sweetness you're looking for, these burnt ends are what you want. I'm gonna grab this one that's got a little bit of fat on the edge. Good Lord. That's just a little nugget of happiness. Just the right amount of sweetness. We didn't go too heavy on the sauce. That way it's not overwhelming. It's balanced out with that salty rub. Burnt ends are where it's at, man. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.